When it comes to the Invincible universe, the Viltrumite race are known to be the supreme warrior race that stands above most. An average Viltrumite is more than capable of taking on majority of Earth's heroes all at once, and maybe has a chance of even taking down the planet completely on their own. When it comes down to it, they're just a cut far above the rest. There's a reason why these aliens in particular have been said to be a threat to all civilizations across the universe. For example, we see that Invincible in Season 2 was easily the most powerful hero on Earth, but was having an extremely difficult time fighting the Viltrumites alongside his father. While it's no secret that the Viltrumites have a threat level far above anything in the Invincible universe, I thought it'd be interesting to go over some of the non-Viltrumite characters in the story that can actually defeat a Viltrumite or at least match them. With that said, in this video I'll be picking a character I think can match or defeat the average Viltrumite, explaining why, then moving on to the next character. If you enjoy content such as this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and now, let's get into it. So to begin, since we're using Viltrumites as a dependent variable, I think we need to pinpoint what exactly is an average Viltrumite, because I don't think it'd be fair to pick out non-Viltrumites and compare them to someone like Omni-Man, for example. Omni-Man is certainly above the average Viltrumite in strength, so that would be redundant. Another thing that further complicates things is the context of the current Viltrum Empire in the Invincible timeline. As we know, they would enter into some sort of massive self-purge to leave only the strongest of their race alive, with this endeavor being successful depending on how you see it. Majority of the Viltrumite race would be wiped out by this in another event, leaving only the strongest Viltrumites alive as of the current time of the story. With that being said, every Viltrumite we have seen are elite or higher, so we honestly don't have any idea of what the average Viltrumite looks like. Instead, what we can do is take the average of these elite Viltrumites and just roll with that. To be honest, I can waste a lot of your time trying to pinpoint this, but I'm just going to choose Thula as our dependent variable for this video. She's considerably powerful, but only a little more powerful than a Season 2 Mark cutting loose. She doesn't seem to be on the level of those such as Lucan or Anissa, so I believe that she's pretty safe as the average Viltrumite option to be compared to many non-Viltrumites we'll be covering in today's video. So now that we have Thula as our baseline established, I think we can now begin to go over some characters who could actually contest or even defeat her in combat. The rules for combat will be the same as they are in the Invincible universe. Anything goes. As long as you win, that's all that really matters. Now, if I had to nominate a non-Viltrumite character who I could bet the entire house on without a sweat to go up against Thula, it would be Alan the Alien. Alan the Alien is a genetically engineered super Utopian alien. He was literally created to go up against the Viltrumite Empire. Although he was relatively weak in beginning parts of the series, being able to be defeated by really any Viltrumite with ease, once he would be brought to near death, he would gain this massive Zenkai boost in power that would allow him to even rival the likes of Anissa in their rematch. Now, Anissa is notably a very powerful character in the story of Invincible, being one of Thrag's big three Viltrumites. Alan's power had jumped so high that he believed that what doesn't kill him literally makes him stronger, and he has even said that he literally doesn't know what could kill him at this point of the story. Alan literally believed that he was invincible himself up until the introduction of Thrag into the narrative, and can you really blame him? Alan the Alien doesn't only have little feats here and there to suggest that he beat Thula, but he literally whooped Omni-Man in a single page after withstanding and shrugging off a 4-page beatdown from the great Nolan himself. As we can see from the father-son vs Viltrumite Empire battle way back in Season 2, Nolan is certainly above Thula in strength, so hypothetically speaking, Alan should be able to do her just as bad, if not worse. Alan is overall one of the most powerful characters in the story, and there's a reason why he gets almost no dedicated fights after he gets his first Zenkai boost, and it's because they really wouldn't be fights. Alan sits at a level that is above Conquest, while being below Battle Beast and Thrag up until the final chapter of the series, and I thought it'd be best to start with him, as he's pretty much the first guy everybody would think of when it comes to reading the title of this video. Another popular character who can more than likely defeat Thula in a straight up battle is Tech Jacket. Zach Thompson is another young adult like Mark Grayson in the Invincible universe, and he even has his own comic book line, but he has something of a presence in Mark's story too, as he helps him out here and there. After being bestowed the Tech Jacket, otherwise known as the most powerful weapon in the universe due to his own benevolence and willingness to help out a dying alien, Zach would become one of the more powerful characters in the verse. After receiving training from the Galdarians who created the tech jacket themselves, his power would be amplified even further. The tech jacket grants Zack all sorts of abilities, such as giving him the strength to go blow for blow with invincible variants, the ability to survive in space with no sort of extra mechanisms or conditions, force fields, shape-shifting his body into all different weapons and stuff. He's very reminiscent of Generator Rex when you think about it. I would say that Tech Jacket is more than capable of at least matching Thula in battle, as he's been able to take down more than 2 invincible variants at the same time in the comics of Invincible. He's fought in the Viltrumite War for many days and came out relatively unscathed, with him and Alan being implied to be some LeBron and Kyrie type duo when it came to the overall efforts. And he's also faced the walking calamity known as Null and managed to come out alive. This is the same Null who casually picked up an entire town and threw it on Tech Jacket the moment they met, and this is also the same Null who had to be sent to the surface of the sun in order for Tech Jacket to escape him. Keep in mind, he was left unscathed from this. Tech Jacket without a doubt is more than capable of hanging with Viltrumite warriors and can more than likely defeat Thula if push came to shove, especially with the suit detonation thing he did against the invincible variants. Another character who caught a W during the Invincible War and who I actually think could manage to defeat Thula in a straight up confrontation is, funnily enough, Powerplex. Scott Duwall is a recurring character in the Invincible universe with the ability to absorb the kinetic energy of explosions, physical attacks, and objects, and then convert this energy into energy that he can utilize for himself, making him extremely difficult and tricky for anybody to deal with. This ability of his first and foremost seems to make him literally invulnerable to physical attacks, as we haven't seen any physical attacks actually damage him in any sort of way. The only way you can really deal with Powerplex is by submission. Not only this, but Powerplex seems to hit pretty hard himself, as we've seen that he's been able to briefly incapacitate Mark and even single-handedly defeat an invincible variant during the events of the Invincible War. I believe that if Powerplex were to fight Thula, it would actually be in his favor, as Viltrumites tend to fight using brute strength and don't really utilize strategy in a way that Mark would, for example. Hence is why Powerplex was able to defeat the invincible variant with ease. We even see that most Viltrumites play on the same battlefield as their opponents throughout the story, as they would usually directly engage Battle Beast in battles of space, although they could have just beat him in all sorts of different ways due to his inability to fly in space. I don't really think that any Viltrumite but Mark and maybe Nolan would find a way around Powerplex's gimmick. Not only this, but I think that in a realistic fight between Powerplex and the average Viltrumite, they would more than likely hit him more than enough times for him to build up enough damage to severely damage them before they could do anything like pick him up and throw him into space, this allowing him to land a massive discharge of energy on them if they were to attempt it. Although I find any Viltrumite taking the route of BFR to be a bit unrealistic, overall, I think Powerplex can handle a lot of Viltrumites just because of their mindset when it comes to enemies, and his moveset is the ultimate punishment for said mindset. A character I've surprisingly never spoken about once on this channel who I think can actually beat a Viltrumite is Atom Eve. Atom Eve has as much screen time as Mark in the series, so you should know what she's capable of, but if you somehow forgot, Eve has the ability of energy projection and matter manipulation. Eve can use her energy projection to construct anything that comes to mind, similar to the Green Lantern, and it's really only limited by her own mental restraints. With that being said, keep in mind that everything she does is limited by her own mental restraints and virtually has no limits. To come back to her moveset, Eve can also use her energy projection to fly or use tactile telekinesis to lift things up and throw or move them. Eve with her matter manipulation can literally change the atomic and molecular structure of anything around her. We've seen Eve do all sorts of stuff with this power throughout the series, and she really does use it as much as she breathes. Lastly, Eve has biokinesis, which really only comes out when she quote-unquote dies, as her mental limiters will automatically be removed due to her no longer being conscious and dealing with the shock of death. Whenever she taps into this ability, she automatically resurrects herself and at times can launch a massive beam of energy. Eve is literally Dr. Manhattan when she enters this state and is more than likely the most powerful character in the series. With everything I just said about Eve, it comes as no surprise that she'd be able to fight against and defeat Thula under normal circumstances, but I do want to make it clear that I don't believe that Eve can actually defeat a Thula level Viltrumite in her normal state, only when she removes her mental barriers for that short amount of time she's quote unquote dead, which will more than likely result in a curb stomp. Meanwhile, Eve in her base state can put up something of a fight. I think Thula would still take the fight by the end of the series. It's really the supercharged Ultimate Eve who can wipe anybody off the face of the planet with a wave of her hand. Another character I believe could hang with the Viltrumites, but require the same kind of conditions as Eve to do so, is Omnipotus. Omnipotus is an energy vampire that drains energy from the world around him, and the more energy that he has, the more powerful he becomes. After absorbing enough energy, Omnipotus can even reach levels of strength that would allow him to manipulate reality as he pleases, become virtually invulnerable, and just basically become an all-powerful god. Now, there isn't much to say about Omnipotus because we really never get an extended showcase of his power, but his feats do suggest that he's able to back up his talk when reaching the peak of his strength. He's literally based on the Anti-Monitor, so I also believe that yes, past a certain point, he'd be able to at least give the average Viltrumite a decent fight. Now, these aren't characters exactly, but they're just a completely different alien race of mindless beasts, which are the Ragnar. The Ragnar are an extremely powerful savage dinosaur-like beast that have adapted to their planet that boasts extremely high levels of gravity over an unknown period of time in the universe's lifespan. This has resulted in them becoming monstrously powerful enough to a point where they can legitimately hurt and defeat Viltrumites. Even in the story itself, it'd be stated that the Viltrumites have made many attempts to either capture or defeat these creatures, but it simply wasn't possible for them. Not only this, but they were even able to hurt Thrag himself. This is a big deal, as characters such as Invincible post-Viltrumite War punched Thrag in the face with everything he had, just for Thrag to completely shrug it off. The problem with the Ragnar is that they're just literally the ultimate killing machine and seem to have been engineered by the universe itself to eradicate everything in it. And they're also mindless creatures, so they're not that smart. When it comes to fighting someone like Thula, I'm not really sure how the fight would play out, as I find the Ragnar to be a bit inconsistent in the series, but I personally think that one of them has at least a very good chance at defeating a Thula level Viltrumite in the event that they were to fight. It'd be a straight up brawl fest, but if the Ragnar are able to hurt Thrag the way they did, then they're probably slicing Thula in half. Robot is another character who I can see taking out a Thula level Viltrumite, especially after he took over all of Earth and upgraded his suits to the black suits. The black suit specifically is a massive counter to Viltrumites because it emits a tone that screws up a Viltrumite's equilibrium whenever it's struck by anybody. Not only this, but when first using this suit, we saw him eliminate Mohawk Mark pretty easily, and just defeat a ton of other characters while taking over the world. He has a ton of these robots who can launch energy beams with the potential to one-shot most of Earth's heroes, and they can even function while destroyed. Robot just becomes way too powerful once these suits are introduced, and it's even to a point where Invincible himself just gives up on fighting him and admits that he cannot defeat Rex as he was. At the end of the story, it took Mark, the Viltrumite Empire, and Heroes of Earth just to stop Robot and take Earth back once and for all. He's very clearly a character who can handle the average Viltrumite. The way I can see Robot taking on a Viltrumite is probably taking them out the moment that they strike his armor and mess up their own equilibrium, allowing him to just put a bomb down their throat, similar to how he did Mohawk Mark when he chose to take his life. I can't see Robot having much trouble with a Thula level Viltrumite if he's able to handle Mark towards the end of the series the way he did a few times. Saving the best for last, and I think this is fairly obvious, but Battle Beast. Thok, otherwise known as Battle Beast, is a battle-hungry lion-like alien that's been cursed with overwhelming power and an endless desire to find one who can overcome said power. Sadly for him, Battle Beast travels the entire cosmos, destroying everybody in his way, as the power of the curse was simply too great for anybody to defeat. At least, up until Thrag, the ultimate Viltrumite, would make his appearance, and they would enter a battle that would result in Thrag's victory, although it was closer to a draw than anything. Battle Beast possesses really no special abilities, but he's just extremely powerful and better than Viltrumites at everything they do except for flying. Battle Beast is the strongest or second strongest character in the series, depending on how you see it for majority of its run, so it's pretty obvious that he is more than capable of defeating a Thula level Viltrumite all on his own. With that said, that about covers every single non-Viltrumite character who's more than capable of at least matching the average Viltrumite in the present time of the Invincible series. Some of course have a better chance than others, but overall, I think all these guys have a chance. Let me know if you guys want me to continue a series like this, or if I missed any characters you think could take out a Viltrumite. I'll catch you on the next one, and peace out guys.